Hello and welcome to From the Be-All End, and this is the debrief for Sheffield United 1, Burnley 4. So I give you a bit of a James Alexander-Gordon there for getting us going. What a result that was. What a start to the run-in for Burnley and their chances of survival. Woody, what were your impressions of that performance at Bramall Lane?
Great advertisement for the Championship, wasn't it, next year? Yeah. But I thought overall it was, I think it was arguably one of the more entertaining games we've had all year. And I thought rather that it was slightly different as much that Sheffield United came at us extremely hard. And they had more than their fair share of chances. If you look at the 90 minutes, their stats were arguably slightly better than ours. But obviously we kept at it. And if there's a side obviously worse than us in the Premier League, it's Sheffield United. You know, I think Diaz is still out with whiplash till the end of the season with that 540 pirouette that he had to make for Assignon's goal, which was quite exquisite. You know, and I was slightly worried we were going to use up our entire look allocation with all these various bobbles and shins and, you know, toe pokes and what have you. But I think the way that we kind of adapted to the game was extremely impressive. We kind of took that early pressure, you know, grew into it. Obviously, Sanderberg, who got you knew they were going to get a lot of shit, almost quieting them down completely after 15 minutes, which kind of indicated how good of a game he actually had. And he could do more or less no wrong for the vast majority of it. And, going in 2-0 up without having really screwed anything up in particular. But then, of course, goal came, and the way that we didn't necessarily crumble, the way that we stuck to his task, up the ante a little bit, and made it more than a comfortable win at the end of the day. And it was a very pleasing performance all around, especially obviously with the spotlight being on Muric. You could tell it wasn't just him having a blind, it was him having to prove a point. And you could tell there was a look in his eye, especially after he fucked up that first part, one of his missed passes. You could tell it meant a hell of a lot to him, because there's always been a little bit of a question mark over him, I think, about elements of his commitment. And you could see yesterday that it was really, really mattered to him, and that's what impressed me, as well as his overall goalkeeping performance. That save that he made in the first half
with his legs,
and that one-handed save, that he tipped round the corner and showed a strong arm. He had a very good game overall, apart from those couple of missed passes. Other than that, I thought it was absolutely impeccable. Berger was great. Assignon, a couple of defensive aberrations, especially for their goal, but that's what he does going forward. Exceptional, that run, turn, etc. For the third goal, I think it was fabulous. And I think overall, I'm sure we'll get into the fact that we'll be staying up or whatever, but it's I was impressed, all told. We did what we had to do. We didn't crumble. Everything was very impressive.
Yeah, we didn't crumble. I mean, at half time, Chris, I said I was chatting to Greavesy, who's not with us on this pod, but I was chatting to him and said 2-0 up. We just got to get through that 15 minutes after the second half. We outletting them anyway into the game because they look dead and buried, and don't give them a glimmer. And of course, we gave them a glimmer, but then didn't fall, didn't collapse, and went on to win it 4-1. I mean, it was a kind of job that top teams do against lower teams, wasn't it? Really, not a desperate performance at any moments. Pretty much in control and winning 4-1.
Well, yeah. So, looking at, Bramall Lane's a graveyard for Burnley. It don't matter which league we're in, and they're a better side than they've suggested Sheffield. They just, I think, like Chris Wilder was saying, I think heads went once the fourth went in, and they've done that a couple of times. The Arsenal performance at home, in particular, that I've seen. But like I say, I thought there was an element of handball in their goal yesterday. McAtee, as he breaks across the pitch, I've not seen enough sort of replays to properly analyse it, but I thought he got away with one there, and then Hamer obviously cuts inside and curls a beauty, and it's, as you say, it's a test, isn't it? So it's a big old club, big old ground, and when they get behind their team, it's they're a force to behold sometimes. Sheffield United, and you just think, well, we went for a sticky patch here, and to hit back so quickly and so impressively, it's a magnificent piece of work from Assignon, and he resists the temptation to go for another goal, and picks out a peach of a pass, and a lovely finish from Foster, who it meant a great deal to him, clearly, to get to get back on the score sheet, and he's pointing to Assignon in front of the Burnley fans to say, it's this man's created this brilliant work. So there's a great deal of, you can see there's like a real bond, a togetherness between the players, and it's nice to see. But there's a lot of aspects that were impressive. I say Muric was, McBurney has to score with the first effort that he says with his legs, but fair enough, he gets a foot on it, but he's made a number of really impressive stops there, and like I say, a couple of misplaced passes that he got out of his head quickly as well. Muric, and got on with the better parts of his game. But for Tim Sherwood to suggest that Trafford's better with his feet, as he did on Sky Sports, is just absolutely bordering on insanity.
Well, they don't know what they're talking about.
Absolutely. Tactics Tim strikes again. Absolutely clueless. But it just over the piece. You say Johan comes on and could get a couple, and look at
20 odd seconds to score, wasn't it?
Yeah, but Odegaard. There's shades of Wade Elliott in the opening goal. This is the way he takes the ball, drives through the heart of the Sheffield United team, and gets a bit of a break and element of fortune in the finish, I suppose. And I say with Assignon, he's done unbelievably well, and it's not to suggest he's in anywhere like the same league, but it's almost like like the old Romario Topol, where he used to take teams by surprise, isn't he? He's poked a toe in it, and it's a fabulous goal. Brereton Diaz didn't have a clue as he keeps up his magnificent goal scoring record against Burnley.
Never say you don't get a good range of references on from the VO. Odegaard channeling Wade Elliott at Wembley against Sheffield United, and then Romario. Yeah,
there you go.
But McBurney, like before the game, I'm thinking like he's one of those players. I know you hate him, Chris, but he's one of them players who he's one of those annoying. He's there, Ashley Barnes, really, in a lot of ways, isn't he? And he's like
poor man's Ashley Barnes.
Right. Okay. Let's put it that way. But he's one of them players who you think, but he'll probably get one against us, and he'll bully us about and stuff. And I thought, Esteve, for a player who comes from a league where there aren't many Ashley Barneses and McBurneys about, I thought Esteve had him in his pocket for most of that game. I thought he did really well. He's made a big difference, really, overall, Esteve. I think with each game he looks better and better to me. And Assignon, we've talked about some of his limitations in the past, but great. But Sanderberger was just next level. Justin, when he's like that on the ball, he looks so elegant, doesn't he? But he seemed to be dictating things more than ever.
Yeah, he clearly had a bit of a point to prove, getting booed quite a lot throughout the game. But I always hate it when we boo opposition players because I always think they're going to play a blinder, and I think that's what happened.
Yeah.
He sort of he sort of rose to the occasion a bit, didn't he? And but I mean, the one word I'd use to describe the whole piece was positive. You know, it was positive that Muric, you know, redeemed himself. I mean, he did misplace that one pass and got away with it, but again, he's kept us in the game with some fantastic saves.
Yeah.
But I think the real positivity was in front of goal. You know, Woody alluded there to the fact that those first 2 goals had a little bit of good fortune about them, didn't they? You know, deflections.
Yeah.
But I mean, there was almost a moment when you could see Assignon pick up the ball outside the box and just sort of click and go, do you know what? I'm going to just try and score here and just run through them. And with a bit more of that throughout the rest of the season, I think we would have, you know, put more teams away like we did then. And there was a bit of good fortune about it, but that's what happens when you get shots off, when you get in the box and you get shots off. And I don't think we've really done that enough. But, you know, the positivity there really shows what can happen if you get the ball in the opposition's box and you get your shots off rather than passing it back or passing it sideways and doing that, you know, messing about with it outside the box like we've done too much of, I think. But overall, it's a positive result, a positive performance, and you know, it sets it up brilliantly for the last 4 games, doesn't it?
It does, yeah. No, I think you're absolutely right. But in both those goals, there was good fortune in it, but we were rewarded for what Audebert and Assignon did, which was running directly at them.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
exactly.
and taking it. And too many times this season, we've sort of put the brakes on and looked around and seen what the options are, rather than sometimes just looking for that bit of luck. You know, you don't find luck if you don't go looking for it. So, yeah, I think it's there you go. I think it feels like that team though has started to. I mean, we got a little bit of a reaction for saying we didn't like the team earlier in the season, or you know, a couple of us did anyway. And now they feel like you're saying what Chris was saying about Foster sort of doffing his cap to Assignon for creating the goal. You know, Goodmanson coming off the bench, scoring immediately, and then in the interview talking about, we all want to contribute, and all. It does feel like they've got it together, and it does feel a more likable team now somehow, doesn't it, Woody?
Results do that though, don't they?
Yeah.
It weirdly feels there's a parallel almost to like the Championship last season, where we went through that spell of endless draws, didn't we? And we couldn't quite, you know, we didn't quite feel it then either. I don't think it took a while for us to get into us, you know, stride there. It's just this season it's taken us infinitely longer, and this feels like that same stretch of like draws, etc., that suddenly culminates in a good result, and then we may kick on. Now, there's obviously not too much left for us to kick on into, and we've suddenly got some very difficult games again. But yes, you're starting to see, you know, the likes of your Assignons. I think Fofana's played a big role in this, but also we've suddenly seen more solidity. We've seen a Burnley side that has a little bit more of a backbone, all told, and it's something that you can identify better with as a fan, I feel, all told. But at the end of the day, results matter, don't they? But to see that smile on pretty much everybody's faces yesterday, from Vinny down, was quite a nice change.
I mean, Vinny's been saying all year it will come together, it will gel, it's a process, it's going to take time, and so on. But is this it? Is this what's happened? It's just happened too late. Do you think, Chris?
Well, the facts are suggesting that, aren't they? But there's a lot to be, you know, in terms of like putting Cullen back in the side. You know, in a big absence where he was, you know, he's missing. He'd had a bit of a, a suspension and an injury, but he was left out for a long period. Obviously, the goalkeeper debate, and I still maintain that Muric should have started the season. Never mind, been in long before. The centre man, he's found a couple of terrific characters. As we've spoken about Fofana's character, and Assignon seems the same. He's perpetually upbeat. You see, he's always got a grin on his face. He's always, looking to sort of bounce back off the crowd and whip them up and that sort of thing. He's just seems a real likable chap. They say, "Oh mate, Steve's like I say, slotted in with minimum fuss." And looked a very, very good, great potential there. To have gone out and found Bayer, and for him to be missing for so long, and to find someone of similar stead, is every credit to the scouting department in that aspect. And I said that they've got youth. I said there was the stat again last night that it's the youngest squads in the Premier League. There are sort of green shoots, but I say if they are to be relegated, and I still think they will be. Mm-hmm. It's just about trying to keep together. Most of these, most of these players who've stood out. You still Koleosho to come back into the picture. I still maintain there's a player in Amdouni. And, you still got that sort of experience in Nous. It looks like, Brownhill probably, it appears like he's, had the option taken up on his contract. But, whether they go out and get a replacement for Charlie Taylor, but maybe might not be as much sort of surgery on the starting 11, certainly, as we maybe thought, which is the more encouraging point. But let's see. I mean, I think Forest have to play Sheffield, haven't they? And so you'd expect them to pick up at least 3 points there. And you just hope, like a couple of seasons ago, if someone had said, if you beat Newcastle on the last day, you stay up, you'd have snapped their hands off. And unfortunately, it didn't pan out on the day. But same situation. If someone had said to me now, if you beat Forest on the last day, you stay up. Exactly the same. Let's take that. It would be remarkable if they got to that stage. Yeah. Maybe Forest get more points taken off them with their behaviour on social media this afternoon.
Is that what you meant by at least 3 points taken off?
Oh no, it's misguided at best, isn't it? That?
Yeah, no, it's incredible one that. I mean, go on. I was going to go to it later, but now you brought it up. What do we make of that Forest chairman? Well, it's not. We presume it's Forest chairman getting control of the social media account, but that tweet from Nottingham Forest, Justin, what did you make of that?
Well, it's absolutely outrageous. I think at least 10 points taken off for that. I mean, if for those who've not seen it, I mean, I can't imagine by the time people listen to this, it'll be all over the place, won't it? But there's a tweet put out from Nottingham Forest suggesting that the video assistant referee is a Luton fan, and that may have influenced his decision making in the defeat to Everton. It's outrageous.
How do they know what the team loyalties are of VAR officials?
That one's been mentioned before, hasn't it? The Atwell one's come to the fore before.
Has it?
About Leighton, yeah. Because obviously he's been involved in a couple of decisions in our games as well, hasn't he? So it's raised.
But we're not suggesting that that had an influence over his decision making. I mean, referees are allowed to be fans of teams, aren't they? But to suggest, I think that is manipulating the decisions to go Luton's favour, I think is just a bit of a step too far, isn't it? I don't know what I mean. What sanctions could they possibly have? I mean, the Premier League can't let that stand, can they?
No.
Without doing something. But what I don't know what they would do.
Yeah, no, it's a fine. I would imagine, really. I would imagine it's a fine, but it's totally bringing the game into disrepute, isn't it? Suggesting that there's crooked officials and conspiracies and. Yeah, no, it's. But I mean, the chairman of Forest has got an incredible history, hasn't he? People can go and Google it for themselves, and he got in trouble in Greece quite a few times. Let's put it that way. But it's a strange one, isn't it? But yeah, it's not going to result in any extra points for them. Unfortunate point deductions for them, unfortunately. But it does. It does. When we look at that situation, though, now, I mean, would it? I mean, the games we've got to come now: United away, Newcastle at home, Spurs away. Before that Notts Forest game, we've got to be pulling off upsets, haven't we? But do you see any chance of us being able to retrieve that 3-point gap?
You'd say on paper, obviously it's extremely difficult, isn't it? It's quite a task, especially considering they'll all be playing for something. They're all playing for some kind of European positioning. So there's not going to be an easy ride amongst that, apart from United, obviously, because they're a shower of shit. But we've been saying it for a while. And if you're going to come good, you might as well come good when you need to come good. And weirder things have happened. And we can, I would say that this weekend has gone arguably as well as it possibly could have done. We've got a Notts Forest meltdown, Luton have taken a drubbing, and we seem to be on a little bit of an upsurge. Now, if that's momentum and we can take it and get a few results, then
one defeat in 7.
Exactly. There's a lot to be said for that.
7 is momentum, isn't it?
Yeah,
even if the draw draws. Yeah.
Yeah. And we're going to come out of this extremely, extremely buoyed with everything. And why the devil not? Like Bo says, if we can get into that last game needing a result in order to stay up, then that is an extremely impressive effort. Let's go and do it. Let's go do it.
We can calm ourselves down and tell ourselves that we're being silly and there's no chance and stuff. But then you look at the fixtures for next week and we go to Manchester United. And if we can get a result there, Nottingham Forest are playing Manchester City. So we could actually be level on points, with a win at Old Trafford.
Well, we only need to get within 2 points of them, don't we, to set that last game of the season up. So,
yeah.
And it's really, really frustrating, though, isn't it? Because when you think about all the points we've thrown away, I would have expected it to be all over with by now. And if we fall short by like 3 points or something, all those points, 3 points we could have picked up easily along the way without just like a couple of daft mistakes that we've made, isn't it? That's the margin of error that we've got here. It's so
just the Brighton and Everton games.
Yeah, exactly. But there's loads of points. We could talk about VAR taking points off us, but we've thrown away points of our own volition, haven't we, from here and there? So, to be this close with 4 games still to go, I think you're right, Woody. It's a remarkable turnaround, really. But again, it's a little bit annoying because we could have been well clear of it now, really. If you think about the winning positions that we've thrown away and the daft mistakes that we've made.
But again, in a normal season without points deductions, we'd have been down by now as well. We've got to take that into consideration, haven't we? But sorry.
Yeah, no, you're right there. We always need to bear that in mind, and obviously Forest appealing against their decision, so that potentially could change anyway. So, but yeah, I do. I feel a bit like everybody else in the sense that another frustration I've got is that I would really, really love to see this team kept together in the Premier League and have another crack at it next season, because I think we're right to surmise that we've reached a point where the company had promised all season that things are coming together a little bit, and we're actually showing that we are competitive in this division. And it would be a real shame if they didn't get to show that next season. And you do fear, don't you, that the team might be broken up a little bit, at least in the close season, if we don't stay up. So there's lots of frustration still, but it's just great to still have something to play for, isn't it, with these 4 games to come. Yeah,
it's going to be a massive decision for the board when if if we don't pull off the miracle and we go down, and Company might be turning around to him and saying, you know what, just give me this team for a year. We'll storm the Championship. We'll be back up. We'll build on what we've done this season. And they might be saying, yeah, but we need to do this. We need to do that. And do they? There must be a temptation to say, yeah, right, let's go for it. But then there'll also be people with spreadsheets turning around and saying, we need to do other things. I mean, it's going to be a massive decision, that, isn't it, Chris?
Well, again, we're back to the argument that what could they get for certain players? Now, we could sell a number of players that have come in this season without having any impact whatsoever on the side that's performing at the moment. You can if you can get your money back for Trezor, or however that deal's however it's structured, whether it's actually an obligation or I'm not 100% sure, but Trafford even, if you can get your money back for Trafford, etc. There's a few deals there that just haven't clicked at all. So, say Taylor's obviously on a free, Jay will be on a free, Corky's on a free, and you wonder whether Berg has piqued some Premier League interest with his performances in a struggling side, etc. But they can certainly sort of garner some finances from the playing squad, you'd imagine. But it'd be heartbreaking really to have to sort of rebuild again, put another side together to then try and get promoted, and probably if a team that wins the league with 101 points ain't good enough for the Premier League, if we win the league again, is that are they going to be considered good enough? I don't know. It's a strange old league.
I'm not convinced we're down though. I really do think. I look at it and I think we can win at United. United are that's Coventry City they were playing. I mean, and they weren't like United weren't taking that game seriously. They were really taking it seriously, and they've conceded 3 against Coventry and should have been knocked out really if it hadn't been for VAR getting involved. We can win at Old Trafford, and Notts Forest can get hammered at home by Man City. Right, then it's game on. Right, Newcastle at home. Newcastle at home. Are they as frightening as they seemed they were going to be at the start of the season? I don't think they are they? Am I getting carried away? You're laughing. Am I getting carried away?
Are you all right?
It's like we've said against. Oh, it's a great time to play Chelsea, and it's a good time to play this, that, and the United. You know that peak United will turn up next week. As good a record as we have at Old Trafford under Sean, where we were remarkable. We probably should have picked up 2 or 3 wins at Old Trafford under Sean. You just know that. I think it was Karen Carney was saying then on the commentary. They're not a side. They're not a team. They've no cohesion whatsoever. But you know that Rashford will pop up with a moment of brilliance, or Fernandes, or Eriksen, or one of these players who we know is better than anything we can lay claim to. And
well, that's kind of what happened when they came to our place, isn't it?
Exactly. And then you've Newcastle at home is a winnable game, but then again they've got Isak and people like this, Harvey Barnes, and every Premier League team has got their match winners, haven't they? So it's just about whether ours at the moment, can Alderbear run rings around them next week? He probably could, but he's got to show up, hasn't he? And Foster and people like that, and
then we'll go and win, and then we'll go and win at Spurs, and it won't matter what happens in the Forest game.
Yeah,
so we've got 9 points there already.
But they've gone to Spurs in the cup, haven't they, and delivered a bloody good performance.
Yeah, played really well in that game. Yeah, with what was essentially a second string side out. So everything would suggest it would be a bloody tough ask to pick up anything in these next 3 games, but you just never know, do you? You don't. No, and I think you're right. Newcastle is another winnable game. I think the toughest game we have is Spurs away. And if you look at where they are in the league as well, they're probably still going to be, clinging on to some hope of catching Villa for a Champions League spot. You know, they're going to have plenty to play for, I think, unless it goes wrong for them before then, and then they're demoralised, utterly demoralised, and just can't face the prospect of playing a team scrapping for their life at the bottom end of the table. But I mean, Spurs have been noted to have the odd late season wobble, haven't they? You know, I don't. I mean, it's silliness. We've got, you know, what was it? Opta was saying last week we had 98% chance of being relegated. I don't know what that number is now. It won't have shifted that much, surely, because we were favourites to beat Sheffield United. But there's got to be a bit of.
I think the best you can say is all three of these teams, who on paper should beat as easily, are fragile in some way or another, or can be. Right. And we're playing a lot better than we were earlier in the season. So they're not none of these games are games that we're going into thinking that we're gonna, you know, we've got no chance. We have got a chance, and it's just about keeping the performances together, isn't it? And maintaining that positivity. If you put these sides under pressure, you know, and you can nick a goal, then anything's possible, isn't it? I really do believe that they aren't games. You know, there's been a lot of games over the course of this season where, you know, going into it, we're not getting anything out of it. That we're just going to get beat. And I don't think that's a given anymore. I think that the improvement that we've made over these last, what was it, 1 defeat in 7?
Yeah,
you know, we've put some performances together. We've you know, we haven't played well in some games and still managed to nick a point, and that's a good sign as well. The draw at Chelsea with 10 men, I think that was a real morale booster as well.
Yeah,
you know, there's loads of positive things happened, and results have started to come as a result of that. So, we don't know what's going to happen, do we? But
that's why we play the game.
That's why we play the games. I wasn't going to say that, but yeah, you know, it's not a foregone conclusion, is it? And I think you're right. I think we're right to be positive about it, because, you know, to be in this position is a miracle in itself, isn't it?
It is, yeah, and it's, you know, we did say a while back, you know, let's at least end the season going down fighting. Let's at least take some momentum into the next season. And it's actually even more than that. I think if we go down now, we're already talking about how we don't want this side to be broken up. Well, that conversation wasn't happening in January, because I think we had plenty of conversations where we're getting shut at a lot of them.
We are literally full of shit.
And, you know, and it, just picking up on what Chris was saying about that, with all the players who are going to be going out to the door at the end of the contract and everything, that does give another glimmer of hope that maybe, if it's about wage bill as much as it is about transfer revenue, if we're trimming the squad by a lot of players going out and other players being loaned out, maybe we don't quite need to start thinking about selling Koleosho or Odegaard, because it's probably going to be 10 or 12 players could be leaving anyway who don't impact on that first team squad.
Exactly.
Quite a few out on loan who will be coming back though, aren't they? So.
Well, see, forget about the Twines, the McNallys and people like that, don't you? Samuel Bastian, Egan Riley, etc., etc. Twine should bring in around what they paid for him. You know, if you're looking at sort of £3-4 million, etc. McNally again, you should hope that, you know, you bring in what they paid for him. They've proven themselves to be solid citizens at championship level at least, but. And if they don't sell them, their bodies in and around the squad. But I mean, the centre half options are off the scale, really. When you can leave out Ekdal after his performance last week, and, you know, Delquaz. I presume Delquaz had a knock recently. He's not sort of featured, and again, he's done well when he's been called upon. You know, in his most recent outings. So, yeah, it's just a lot more positive outlook than me. And it's not just results. It has been the performances, and if they can carry on as they are doing, then let's say whatever the outcome is, you know, we can have a bit more of a brighter summer in prospect.
We sort of know what the team's going to be every week now, don't we, as well, which is a very unusual experience under company. I mean, sort of 9 or 10 of the players, where they're going to be and what position they're going to be playing. So, yeah, it's an interesting one. A lot to look forward to. It's going to be like a kind of mini roller coaster now, isn't it? We're going to get, we haven't had much excitement this season, and we're going to get that now. It matters. It's exciting. It's lots going on. Yeah. Before we go, of course, off the field things. There's a little competition. Want to know if Woody's started practicing his keepy ups and his crossbar challenge to head to North Carolina to be part of JJ Watt's 7-a-side team.
Calm down. My keepy up is in crossbar challenge. No, it's not. I am not known as a skill spot, but I will bring entertainment without a shadow of a doubt.
You should do a little video doing one of them, that piece of K. John Smith's advert.
Exactly.
Send it in on AI Scouts.
In fact, I think I might. Although I'm guaranteed to pull a fetlock.
I'm not familiar with this. What's this about? They've got a competition to get in the team.
The 7-a-side competition, the soccer tournament that Burnley have entered 2 teams in, a men's team and a women's team. One's going to be captained by JJ Watt.
Yes.
And the other one's captained by Mrs. Watt, Keelia Watt. Yeah. And you can enter a competition to be part of that team.
So JJ Watt's got to the end of his contacts list, and he hasn't managed to drum up 7 pals to join him. So, yeah.
Something like that.
I thought he'd made some calls already.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see who does feature in that, because I know Wrexham, like we were saying the other week, George Boyd played on it, and a few. It was mostly a sort of old boys team, but I can't see JJ Watt lining up with John Deary and Roger Eli somehow in North Carolina. I don't think it's going to be that vintage Clarets.
The Beckham's likely to be Odell, isn't it?
Yeah, it'll be interesting. It'll be interesting to see who it is. All a bit of fun. We could go, would it? Come on.
Yes, we could. Not going to take though, but yeah, good.
Yeah.
I just wanted to mention Leighton James. Actually, I think it would be remiss of us not to remark on his sad passing this week. I mean, as I said on our chat, he was a big hero of mine. Just exactly the kind of player a little boy in a Burnley kit pretends to be in his back garden after he's been on the turf. What a player, what a talent, what an exciting player for us to have seen all those in the 3 spells he was at Burnley. 2-footed, skillful, direct, just a Burnley legend and an absolute hero to me and many other Clarets, I'm sure.
Absolutely, yeah. And three spells with the club, Chris. I mean, there's not many players done that, have there?
No, so I was unlucky to only catch him in his 3rd spell, and they played centre half. So it was the memorable penalty late on in the 86-87 season. So he stayed around and helped with the what you look at now. So like the rebirth, isn't it? Getting to Wembley that season and kicking on from there. But obviously played cricket, didn't he, at Burnley and Lower House, and I did. Yeah, I spoke to him a couple of times in my time at the Burnley Express, and I think it was just once when he was. I think it was sacked by Matlock Town. I ended up ringing him up, and another time we saw him in the press room at one of his other loves, Swansea City. But I got to know his daughter Gemma through social media, etc. And my heart goes out to her and the family. But fabulous. From the highlights I see, he was an absolute world class potentially at points in his career. And another one like Justin, Palomine Daz Bentley, who he's his hero, Alistair Campbell. So many big Burnley fans who pick him out, which says a great deal about considering the players we've had over the years. So rest in peace, Taffy.
Yeah, he was as a winger. He was unusual, I think, in that he had a bit of fire in his belly as well, didn't he? Like he wasn't just he had all those skills and all those things you've talked about, and the speed and the trickery and everything. But he also had a bit of devil in him as well. He seemed to always be like fired up and up for up for the battle. I remember him coming back and playing at centre half after. I think he was brought on as was he like a reserve team or youth team coach, and then Brian Miller ended up calling him into the team when Whoosh or somebody got an injury, and he came in at the back to help out. A few players came back, didn't they, at that time to sort of help out. But I remember him second spell. I caught him in his. I think you did as well, didn't you, Justin?
Yeah,
in the V.
Yeah, in the V, and the yellow kit. That photograph I shared on Twitter was actually the shirt that I had when I was like 9 years old, and the number 11. This is how long ago this was. You couldn't get numbers put on the back of the shirts. I probably bought that. My mum and dad probably bought me that shirt from Peter Noble's shop in the Market Hall. Do you remember that? Yeah. And the number 11 that I had my mum stitch on the back, she cut out from some felt and stitched it on herself. So that's how much I loved him. But yeah, that was his second spell. Obviously, his first spell was I was too young, and but he was just such an exciting player to watch. He just when you want a footballing hero, you want somebody he's the archetype of that player, isn't he? Skillful, direct, like you say, had a bit of fire about him, a bit of devilment, a bit of aggression, and a bit of the sort of player that you just fall in love with and you could watch forever. I was really sad to hear the news, and like Chris says, my thoughts go out to his family. But yeah, we'll be sadly missed.
Absolutely. Woody, you have any Leighton James memories?
If anybody wants to see how good he was in what we're actually talking about, get yourself on YouTube and find some big match highlights, especially one against QPR away. And it's that era when people used to say, give it such and such. Obviously, again, when they said, just give it Taffy. He popped up on the left, he popped up on the right, he popped up on both inside channels. He just took the piss. And I suggest you go and watch that.
Yeah, we'll share that. We'll put that out with this podcast for people to see, because it's really good. Not just, and the big match introduction is fantastic as well. It takes you back into another world, but it is great to see. It's also like, I watched it after you sent it, Woody, and it's like you watch and people talk about 1970s football now as though it was just all long ball, muddy pitches and elbows, and there was actually some really good football being played in that. Peter Noble, boss in the midfield, and well worth. There's loads of Burnley games on YouTube, aren't there? It's like it is quite good to dip into them now and then.
And you see the DNA from there that's almost transported to a modern day Burnley side. There's more commonality between that era and now than anything else in between. So I suggest people go and see it if they haven't.
Keith Newton is an inverted fullback.
Exactly.
Yeah. Really one of the finest players the club's had, really. He should be, if there's a Mount Rushmore of Burnley players, he's up there on that with Jimmy Mack and others as well. But
agreed.
Yeah, sadly missed. Thanks very much indeed for joining us, and we'll be back on Friday. And until then, have a good week, and up the Clarets.
Jimmy McElroy to Watson. Go.